What's going on, everyone? It is our pleasure to host Andrew Kocis today. Andrew graduated from PC in 2014 and currently works for a large international financial services company. Andrew, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So to start us off, can you share with us a little bit about what your PC experiences were like?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you mentioned, I graduated in 2014. I was a business management major with a concentration in accounting. So, spent plenty of time in Jacobs Hall. Let's see, I also got to go on 2 Maymasters with the business department, one to China and one to Cape Town, South Africa. So, 2 very different experiences, but definitely 2 experiences that added a lot to my perspective. Was involved in Greek life and just really enjoyed campus life at PC. I'm thankful to still be a part of that community today by doing things like this.
So with the study abroad programs, what did you guys what was the purpose of going to those 2 specific study abroad programs for you? What did you get out of those experiences?
Well, so it was a really great international experience, and actually it kind of helped me land that job at a big international company, was having that background in diverse places like China and South Africa. And while we were in China, we kind of focused on Chinese economic reform and how you do business in China, because that obviously is quite different from how you would do business in America, culturally as well. And then South Africa was very cool too. That was more of a focus on entrepreneurship. So very different lessons in both places, but they both really added a lot to my business experience and kind of global perspective as well.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your shift going from PC into the more professional world. How did you use what you applied at PC to transition into what you do currently?
Yeah, definitely. So I know there are people that when they are leaving college, they know exactly what they want to do and they have their whole plan mapped out. I was not one of those people at all. I didn't have that kind of set career path that I knew I wanted to follow from day one. So kind of what I did was I said, okay, I just want a completely different experience. I want to get some kind of life experience and kind of get me out of my comfort zone. And so for me, going to a small school in a small town, I thought, okay, I'm going to go to a big city and work for a giant company. And so that's what kind of brought me up to Chicago. I narrowed my job search to the city of Chicago and ultimately landed a job at a big financial services company, which was really cool. Obviously, it was completely different, but at the same time, I did feel really prepared from what I learned at PC. Both from the business department, of course, but also kind of campus-wide, the community. I feel, despite being very different from the big city, I was ready for it. So that was obviously very cool.
So specifically, what does your company specifically do in terms of the work that you do?
Yeah, so it's I guess starting with the company. So it's a massive company. I think it's global Fortune 40, I believe, for this current year. So it's huge. So we're in the financial services space. So that's insurance, asset management, and investments. And I actually work for the property and casualty insurance division. So that is basically insurance for large companies. So mainly we work with clients that have annual revenues of $500 million and up is kind of our starting point. Wow. So it's huge companies.
The start point. Yeah, that's
where
it's at.
And so, pretty much everybody's familiar with kind of your car insurance or your home insurance. Well, these companies have, huge needs for insurance because it's all about managing their risk, right? So let's say, for example, Tesla is a client. So we help insure their plants, for example, and Boeing is another one. It's these massive companies that have these huge operations, and what comes with that scale is there's a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong, unfortunately. So that's kind of where we come in to help them manage their risk. Everything from, think about shipping goods from, let's say, China to a port on the West Coast. While those are in transit, if cargo falls off or gets lost somehow, that's a huge risk to all these companies. So we help provide them with risk management solutions to help them, I guess, sleep better at night as the management. So it's really taught me that pretty much everything everywhere is insured somehow. So again, before I started, I was kind of like, okay, my car, my home, that makes sense, but everything everywhere is insured somehow. So it's been
gotta make sure that you're that cushion of protection.
Yeah, exactly.
So for you specifically, like, what roles have you held so far in the company that you work for?
Yeah, so I've had three roles so far. Coming right out of school, I actually did a 2-year rotational development program, which was awesome because it was in our finance department, but I had 6 different roles over the 2 years, which meant 6 distinct jobs, 6 different managers. So not only was I learning a lot on the job, I was learning a lot about myself too. What management style did I work with better? So that was a really cool experience, especially because, like I said, I didn't have that kind of set path coming out of school. So that was a really great opportunity to kind of try different things right off the bat. So I had a great experience in kind of the big corporate training program. And that led me to the kind of the middle 2 years. I've been there 6 years now. So kind of the middle 2 years, I was a financial analyst supporting our IT department. So that was definitely a different experience as well. It's helped kind of drive and manage about $100 million budget. So that was kind of a big responsibility. But really my role was, to take care of the finances parts so that the IT people could focus on what they were good at. It's kind of funny, they're whizzes on all things IT and systems, but you put a balance sheet in front of them or income statement, and all of a sudden it's a different language for them. So
they say all those numbers, and they're like, oh, I don't really know how to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And then my current role is, so I am basically a project manager covering robotic process automation projects for North America. And so go into that a little bit. Don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically it is coding software to carry out what we're doing is basic accounting functions. So it's tasks that are very straightforward, kind of very repetitive, very mundane, high volume. Basically, it's work that humans don't like doing, and so we are coding software programs to do that instead. Oh, wow. And now a lot of people, when they hear that, they jump to, oh, well, you're getting rid of jobs. That's actually not the approach we're taking at all. We're trying to get kind of that work that, these accountants don't like doing anyway, and get that off their plates to kind of free them up to focus on value add work. So the phrase we use is knowledge workers. So we want all of our finance colleagues to be knowledge workers and kind of take that repetitive, mundane work off of their plates. So that's been really cool too. It was a brand new initiative when I became a part of it. So I kind of got the completely blank slate to kind of drive that whole effort for our region, which has been really cool. It's been pretty successful so far. So that's been a really great experience.
So going on top of that, what has been like your favorite part so far, since what's been the part about your job that you like the most, being since you've been doing it relatively for about 6 years, like you said, and being able to have access to all the different types of trainings and learning experiences that you have? What was probably your most favorite part about doing what you're doing now?
I would say my favorite part would be in my current role with RPA would be when we successfully complete a project. I think part of it is that's where I feel I can make the biggest impact and the biggest difference. Because what's really cool is when you've completed an automation project and you help deliver to the team and help implement it, and then you get that feedback, let's say maybe a couple weeks or a month later after they've kind of gotten used to using that bot, as we call it. Because I've heard things like, hey, you've saved our team X hours a month during the month-end close process, or hey, now my colleagues don't have to work overtime during the month or anything. And those are kind of, to me, those are just real tangible impacts. And to get that feedback after going through the whole project process and delivering something successfully is really rewarding to me.
So let's see. So what would be some advice that you would give a PC student in terms of them transitioning from no, I'm not even just transitioning from college to the professional world, but what advice would you give a student in general in terms of looking forward to their future and like planning on how to use what they learn at PC to apply to that professional like environment?
Sure. Well, I think I mean, even before you leave campus, I mean, there are things you can do to go ahead and start kind of setting up that foundation for success. I mean, it's general stuff, but I mean, first is just get involved while you're on campus. I mean, you know, ultimately, at least my experience was your college experience is going to be what you make it. So, you have to, same thing with your career, you are you are your own advocate. So, get involved on campus, kind of get yourself out of your comfort zone, meet more people, kind of do things to set yourself up for after college starting now.
Yep.
And I think part of that goes hand in hand with that is make the extra effort in relationships, whether it's with, professors or classmates. Again, whether you realize it or not, while you're on campus, you are setting yourself up for the future. So be intentional about how you go about that starting now. And I would say, again, just from personal experience, once you get that first job or once you're out early in your career, take on more responsibility than you think you're ready for. Really put yourself out there. Anecdotally, from my own experience, I was about probably a year into my first role. So I was in that training program, and we had a manager go out on a 3-month medical leave. And so that, there wasn't really enough time to hire someone to replace her. But they still needed 3 months of that manager's role being done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I stepped up and said, hey, I'll do it. Had no idea what I was doing. Didn't feel I was ready for it. But I stepped in and did a good enough job. And that experience and stepping up like that really helped me later on because, managers and, upper level management saw that and then remembered that later on. So something like that certainly goes a long way. And then also as part of that, early in your career, don't be afraid to ask for help, especially early in your career. You're not going to be an expert on everything. And the thing is, you're not expected to be. And so, again, if you're taking on that extra responsibility, make sure you are asking others for help along the way. Because, again, they'll be, in my experience, they'll be glad to provide it. And that helps you accomplish more than even you think you're able to.
Yep.
And I would say last, again, just general advice. Be mindful of how you spend 3 very important finite resources, and that is time, energy, and money. We all only have 24 hours in a day. There's only so much money in your pocket, only so much energy in the tank. So really, whether it's periodic, monthly, weekly, however it is, kind of just take stock of how you spent those 3 things during that given week. And, was it in a productive manner or was it in a destructive manner? Or, just kind of just be mindful of those 3 things. And I think that has really helped me. Just kind of being aware of how I spend, again, time, energy, and money. It's been really helpful for me.
I think that's also a big thing too, because like a lot of people, it's important to develop habits, and it's important to be able to, because of course for me personally, I like to plan out my day the night before, so I'm able to know exactly what I'm going to be doing the day, like the next day. Of course it always changes, but being able to adapt to that change but still being able to accomplish the goal that you have for that day. Like it's like you said, it's creating that foundation of success where you go and build the relationships with professors and you go and do the extra work even when other people don't, and putting yourself out there in that position to stand out, and people will recognize you for that, even if it's not at that moment. Down the road, if they know that you're going to be doing something, they're going to be more than willing to want to support you because they know the work that you put in and they've witnessed that before. So I definitely love that advice that you gave for sure. So sort of like reiterating on that of the last question, like what should students do to prepare for themselves, like their life after college?
So I would say, kind of tacking on to what we just talked about, I would say embrace the fact that learning does not stop once you graduate. The papers might stop, the exams might stop, but I mean, I would honestly argue that's learning is only just beginning. And I would say if you look at the workplace now, it has changed so quickly over the past few years. And I would first thing I would point to with that is kind of the emergence and the effectiveness of technology. Jobs are changing, roles are changing. So I would say I would be prepared to be a lifelong learner. And I think if you have that mindset, that'll set you up very well going forward. Because again, and I know there's a statistic that's floating around out there. I don't know what the number is, but it's something like, X% of jobs that are going to be out there in 2030 don't even exist today. Mm-hmm. So, you got to think about, you're going to have to kind of constantly reinvent yourself and add to your skill set to stay on top of your future, on top of your career. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think be prepared to continue learning. And I would think too, if you do have kind of a chosen field or a chosen path you want to take, I would pick out a handful of skills or traits in that field and really hone in on developing those skills ahead of time. Start now if you can. Because again, early in your career, you're really looking for ways to differentiate yourself early on and really stand out. So again, if you can identify certain skills or traits, try to develop those as much as you can, as quickly as you can, because that's going to give you an even bigger leg up once you get out there.
All right, so it's gonna be the final question, but it's gonna be a really tough one, so no pressure. Springs or GDH?
Oh, save the hardest hitting question for last. I like it. GDH. I'm going 100%. GDH. Although I caveat, I believe Springs has been upgraded since I was there, so I don't know new Springs, so I'll speak to old Springs versus GDH, but GDH. They both have their merits. Springs was, I guess more of a convenience play. You got an afternoon class, got to get something quick and screw over to class. But if I had the time, I'm going to GDH for sure.
100%. You just can't go wrong with unlimited amounts of food. Like just can't go wrong with that.
That Thanksgiving meal was always a spectacle.
Yes.
You can't miss that.
Well, awesome, Andrew. Well, like I said, I really appreciate your time, taking the time to have this interview, and I really appreciate the advice and the knowledge that you've been able to give to not just myself, but to all the PC students who will be watching this. And I look forward, and we all look forward to being able to connect with you sometime in the late future.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks a lot for having me. And again, I'll send over contact info. So obviously for you or classmates or whoever, feel free.
Awesome. All right. Well, peace out, PC students. I hope you enjoyed with this interview, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care, guys.